This week, PFL is back in business, and we have some good fights to look forward to. Let's jump right in. Starting off with McKee versus Paul Hughes at lightweight. Both of these fighters are nearly undefeated, having only dropped a single decision loss each. AJ is certainly the more experienced fighter coming into this bout, with 10 more fights under his belt and his entire pro career taking place inside of Bellator and the PFL. Paul, on the other hand, has spent most of his career under the Cage Warriors banner, but was able to secure a victory in his Bellator debut earlier this year. McKee is almost exactly 2 years older than Paul, but both of them still fall into prime fighting years for lightweight. There's a 3.5-inch reach difference, which could very well favor AJ if this fight were to stay on the feet. Although my guess is that McKee would prefer to use his wrestling and ground game where he likely has the easiest path to victory. At the books, McKee is a small -177 favorite. The model also sees him coming away with the win, but isn't giving him as favorable odds. Do you think AJ will leave with another win on Saturday? And if so, could he be the first person to stop Hughes? Next up, we have Johnny Eblen facing off against Fabian Edwards in a rematch for the Bellator middleweight belt. In the first fight, Fabian was able to stuff nearly all of Eblen's takedown attempts and was immediately back to his feet after the only successful attempt. Despite his lack of wrestling success, Johnny is no slouch on the feet, with the judges having the scores split 1-19-19 and 1-20-18 each way after the second. Early in the third round, Eblen was able to land a right hook to put Edwards down before finishing the fight with ground and pound only 21 seconds in. The bookmakers have this line very wide, with the odds exactly the same as they closed in the first fight. Eblen was able to cash as the favorite then, but the model believes that Edwards deserves a slight edge this time around. We've seen Fabian's brother, Leon, make big improvements going into a rematch with Usman. Now we'll get to see if it runs in the family. Moving on to the only female fight on the card, we see one of the most dominant women in MMA, Cris Cyborg, defend her belt against Larissa Pacheco. Cyborg is on a 7-fight win streak with only a single loss since her pro debut in 2005. Pacheco is on a 10-fight win streak and is the only woman to ever defeat Kayla Harrison. Both of these women have undeniable power, each finishing the vast majority of their fights inside the distance. It may be rare that either of them get knocked out, but we have seen it happen against big punchers, and I wouldn't be surprised if this was number 2 for either one of them. The book odds are showing Larissa as a slight favorite here, and the model odds are perfectly in line with that. Age is likely a big factor for the model in this fight, but Cyborg hasn't seemed to slow down just yet. The final fight on this card is between two massive human beings, Francis Ngannou and Renan Ferriera. To be clear about the last fight stat, it does include non-MMA bouts currently. It has actually been nearly 3 years since Francis has had an MMA bout. This would be the first time that Ngannou steps into the cage against someone with both a height and reach advantage over him. Although we did see against Tyson Fury, who has a very similar build to Renan, that Francis can still manage to land big power. I wouldn't be surprised to see Francis attempt a wrestling-heavy style in this fight, much like his approach against Cyril Gane. Although, Renan does train with the Nogueira brothers, so this could lead to big trouble for Ngannou. At the books, Francis is a pretty large favorite, coming in at -320, but the model is very strong on Ferriera at -201. After so long away from the cage and that professional boxing money in his pocket, we may see Renan defeat Francis McGregor. Only time will tell. Taking a look at the numbers for this card, limited fight data has left us with 4 wagers, 2 underdogs, and 2 favorites. Our total risk came in at 5.12 units with a potential win of 13.82 units. Our upside on this card is very large at 170% because the model likes both Edwards and Ferriera as big underdogs. As always, thank you for watching. We will be back later this week with all of the model predictions for UFC Fight Night Pereira versus Hernandez. For those of you who watched till the end, we have made massive progress on version 2 of the model, nearly quadrupling the number of fights in the database. Work is now being done on a new learning model that will allow for better data analysis and more fine-tuning. We look forward to bringing you those numbers as soon as possible.